Laila Tov, good evening. So good to see you guys again. Tonight we're going to be talking about prayer, and it's really only around the logistics. We're not going to get into the more of the esoterical parts of prayer, learning. We're not going to get into that. We're going to get into the logistics because I've had a lot of questions regarding logistics asked me. So that's kind of the purpose of this particular next steps. Yes, Chris and Crystal, thank you. Shoshana just got home and she has something at 7 tonight, and so she's in there taking a nap. So she's had a very busy day. So let's say hello. I forget, you were here when you were here, Thomas. I can't remember if you preferred being called Thomas or Seth. Please let me know so I don't make a mistake again. Welcome, Dana, Chris and Crystal, and Kevin. Welcome. You like Seth? Okay, great. Thank you. Sarah and Shane, Merritt, Daniel, welcome, Heather, Eleazar, Sona, Leah, Hefzibah. Boy, you guys just keep coming in. Doorkeeper, and yes, Shane Merritt. Please record. Well, this is on YouTube, so it's being recorded. So sorry about that. Anyway, I've been asked a lot of questions about more of the logistics around prayer, and so that's what we're going to deal with. We're not dealing with more of the esoterical. For those things, I would. There's plenty of good books out there. In fact, in the link below, in the description, you'll see links for, once again, to get your sitter, where to get your men's and women's sitter at. You will get, let's see, there's one for how to pray as a Jew. That's a good book. We talked about that one last week. We are going to be talking about the logistics tonight, about prayer. So there's three main prayers. Three main prayers. There's the Shacharit, which actually is associated with Avraham. There's the Mincha, which is associated with Isaac, Yitzhak, and there is the Maariv, which is associated with Yaakov. And then we round out our night right before we go to bed. We say the bedtime Shema, and I don't want to underemphasize saying the bedtime Shema. It prepares us for sleeping. So what we're going to talk about is a little bit about this morning, right now we're going to start talking about the Shacharit prayer. That is the one I get the most questions on because it's a very long prayer, and you're not supposed to, most of it, you're not supposed to even say before sunrise. And many people have to be to work before sunrise. And so they fill out, they're missing praying the Shacharit prayer. Now, something I want to say is important is that if you miss a Shacharit prayer, there are other people praying. And their prayers, I mean, if you miss Shacharit prayer for any reason other than you just don't want to do it, okay, there are people that are praying, and you get that merit for their prayers, which is also important. If you can say the Shacharit, the full Shacharit, say it because you're saying it for those who also cannot say it. One of the important things I've learned over the past year is my prayers, sometimes I will say for somebody else that's going through a very trying time in their life, I may say and dedicate a prayer to them. Oftentimes now with the war in Israel, our soldiers aren't always able to say their prayers because they're at war. And we can dedicate our prayers to our soldiers. I think that's very important to remember. So let's get into the Shacharit prayer and talk about the logistics of it. So when you get up in the morning, I'm on page 3 of the men's siddur. It would be the same in the women's siddur. So when you get up in the morning, when you open your eyes, before you get out of bed, the first thing you say is the upon rising prayer. I gratefully thank you, O living and eternal King, for you have returned my soul within me with compassion. Abundant is your faithfulness. And then you wash your hands and you say the next prayer. But before you wash your hands, you should rinse out your mouth, okay, and spit it out into the sink or whatever, because it's important that you rinse out your mouth before you say the name of HaShem, before you say Adonai, because the very next prayer when you wash your hands is the beginning of wisdom. It's the fear of Adonai. Good understanding to all their practitioners. His praise endures forever. Blessed is the name of his glorious kingdom for all eternity. Then the next part is for the men in particular. And that part is the donning of the tzitzit, your talit katan. The first thing you put on before you put on any of your other clothes, put on your tzitzit, your talit katan. And you say the prayers right before, below up on rising. You're going to say, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and has commanded us regarding the commandment of tzitzit. May it be your will, Adonai, my God, and the God of our forefathers, that the commandment of tzitzit be worthy before you as if I fulfilled it in all its details, implications, and intentions, as well as the 613 commandments dependent upon it. And normally, right after you don the talit katan, you're going to, right before you do it, you're going to kiss the tzitzit. Important to understand that this part is part of our routine every morning when we get up, every morning when we do that. So we are to, now what I'm going to go into, and it's very important, I'm going to tell you what is the shortest prayer you can pray in the Shacharit, and what do you do, how to do that. So the very next thing I would say, if I'm rushed, I got to get to work, or maybe I'm at work already and the sun comes up, or even before the sun, what I will say is I will say the prayer on page 17. I will pray the Torah, blessings of the Torah, because you may be listening to, during the day, you may be listening to or on your ride to work or something like that, you may be listening to a video or something that has Torah teaching in it. And so you want to make sure that you prayed that up front right away. So the bare minimum that you should do is, if you're a man and you're going to work and you're there before the sunrise, take your tefillin with you. And you can wrap tefillin. The prayers for wrapping tefillin are on page 5. You start at the bottom of the page, and then you go to page 7, skip the first paragraph, and then you're going to say, when you wrap your arm tefillin, you're going to say the first one, blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, has sanctified his commandments and commanded us to put on tefillin. Okay. And then, now there's a good video that Rabbi did. There's a link to it in the description below that you can watch about how we at Lapid wrap tefillin. It's a very important that you watch that, because as we all say, we all do things the same way. You would find another synagogue with another rabbi. They may have some slight differences in the way they do things and in the prayers they do, the short prayers they do. They may have some differences, but they're minor. And one thing we learn in Lapid and other synagogues is we do all things the same. So, I mean, it's like Chabad. If I was to go to a Chabad house in, say, Boston, they would do things the same way that they would do at a Chabad house in Florida. And so that's important to understand. We do things the same way as Lapidniks. So we say the prayers, and then we go to page, I think it's, is it 90? Let me go over here. No, it's 70. 70. I had the page numbers here, and I can't. Nope, it's not there. Yes, it is page 90. 91 for English, 90 for Hebrew. You're going to say the Shema. Okay, so say the Shema, and then the last thing you can say, the most important thing to say after that is the Amidah. Now you can put a break between these, between the Shema and the Amidah. You may get, say, 5, 10, 15 minutes. You can say, wrap the filling, say the Shema, and then you don't have to rewrap the filling to say the Amidah. But then, say an hour later or so, you get some dedicated time. You can say the Amidah. Once you start the Amidah, which is on page 99, once you start the Amidah, you have to finish it. Okay, you can't. You don't allow people to interrupt you. So you want to be in a place where you won't have interruptions. So that's kind of like would be the shortest prayer that you could say as you are rushing about your morning. Some of us, I'm retired. I have a lot more flexibility most of the time in my prayers than most of you that are working. And so it's important that you understand that God is gracious to you. And there are shorter versions of this you can say. Now, if you go to Chabad now, and I did that not too long ago. I went to Chabad and I said, well, what are some of the shorter prayers? And so I'm going to take the next level, a little bit longer prayer for Shacharit, and we're going to go over that one. So what it would be, everything we talked about, the hand washing, the morning blessings. Now the morning blessings are going to start on page 13. So you're going to say the morning blessings, going through page 15. Okay. Say the blessing of the Torah you've already said. Okay. You can say the rest of that for a shorter prayer, going over to 19. This is all in men's siddur. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the women's siddur, but you guys can probably get the same thing. This is all the blessings of blessed are you, Adonai, our God, King of the universe, on page 19, who gave a heart understanding to distinguish between day and night, for not having made me a Gentile. Great prayer for us converts. For not having made me a slave, for not having made me a woman for the man, and for having made me according to his will for the women. And so I normally will finish that, and then I will jump all the way over to page 55, the Pesuka de Zimra, and I will say the introductory psalm, which is Psalm 30. And then I will, after I say that, I'll skip the mourner's cottage, and I will say the first paragraph of Pesuka de Zimra. Something I didn't cover earlier, but in all these prayers, there are instructions embedded into prayers before the prayer, sometimes in the prayer itself, that are in a smaller font. Those are important to you. So like here in Pesuka de Zimra, when you get to the blessed is he who spoke on page 59, okay, you want to grab your seat in your right hand and hold them in your right hand. And then when you finish praying the prayer, you kiss your seat and release them. Okay, so if I'm on it, this is a kind of a medium prayer, length prayer we're talking about here. So you'd go through page 61, not through 61, but to the top of page 61 before you get to the next prayer, which is 1 Chronicles 16. And then I would hop all the way over to page 83, Yishtabach. And I will pray on 83. I will pray this top paragraph of Yishtabach. May your name be praised. And pay attention again to the instructions in smaller print. Okay. So I prayed that one. And then you get to page 85 and you do Baruch Hu, bless Adonai, the blessed one. You say the blessings of the Shema. I will say the first paragraph of the blessings of the Shema on 85. Okay. And then I'll jump to 89. And I will, at the very bottom, I will say, bring us. I'll start with the words, bring us. Very bottom at the right, bring us in peacefulness for the four corners of the earth. At that point, if you pay attention to these, to the instructions there, you take your seat and you wrap it. You take off four, especially if you're wearing from your talit gadol, not from your talit katan, your talit gadol, and you'll put them between your fourth and fifth finger, and then wrap them around your hand, and you'll hold them all the way through the Shema. And if you've wrapped tefillin during this period of time, then on page 93, when you say, bind them as a sign on your arm, let them be tefillin between your eyes, you're going to bind them on the sign on your arm, going to touch your arm tefillin. And let them be tefillin between your eyes. You're going to touch this, and you're going to kiss your fingertips. Okay, you do that twice. You did in this prayer. And then when you get to page 95, and it's a prayer about the seat, every time you say seat, you're going to kiss your seat. And then when you get to the part where, and Adonai said to Moshe, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, and say to them, they are to make themselves seat. On the corners of the garments throughout the generations, they place on the seat. Of each corner threaded to hellet, and they will constitute seat for you. And then you're going to hold it and look at the seat when you say the next part, that you may see it and remember all the commandments of Adonai and perform them. Okay, very important. Then when you get to the next paragraph, you're going to get down to where it's going to say, at this point, his words are living and enduring, faithful and delightful forever, and kiss the seat and release them out of your hand. And then you finish up and you go all the way on 97. I was on page 95 there. On 97, I skipped all the way down to the last paragraph, Rock of Israel. Now, when you get to that one, you're going to stand up. In all of our prayers, we say I'm facing east towards Jerusalem. Okay. It's not always facing east. It depends on where you're in the country. In the world, you face Jerusalem. Okay. So you're going to say rock. You're going to stand up, take 3 steps backwards. You're going to say this bottom paragraph, Rock of Israel, arise to the aid of Israel, and liberate as you have pledged Judah and Israel, our Redeemer. Adonai, Master Allegiance is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Blessed are you, Adonai, who redeemed Israel. Then you're going to turn to 99, and I'm talking about the English pages. And then you're going to take 3 steps forward and start your Amidah and end the prayer there. Now, there's a much longer prayer that I go through that could take an hour, 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. And that can be quite lengthy. And next week, I may go into the lengthy prayer for you guys, and we can discuss that. if you feel that's necessary. If you feel that's necessary, put it in the comments after this is over with, if you really would like to know about the more lengthy prayer. Now let's talk a little bit about Mincha. Let's talk about the prayer times. Okay, Shacharit, outside of the things you say before sunrise, we've already talked about. Shacharit is not said until sunrise, and it can be said anytime between sunrise and noon. And then Mincha is any time from say 12:30, 1 o'clock until 6, 7 o'clock. You can say it then. And then Maariv isn't said until you can see 3 stars in the sky at night. That is when you can say the Shacharit. Now, if you have that app we talked about, the Siddur app, I think we talked about it last week, the Siddur app from Chabad. It actually, these prayers will not show up on that app until it's time to say them. Like for right now, I have in there, I show the Mincha afternoon prayer. So that will disappear, and Maariv will come up when it's time to say the Maariv prayer. But you got to also know that their nightfall is like 9, 10. So that's when it's going to come up. So for today, 9, 10 for today. And so it's a really good app. It's a good, I don't use it for actually saying the prayers. Sometimes I use it to see, okay, where at in the day? Is it ready? Can I do it now? But after a while, you get so used to it, you won't use that app to refer to. Now, important is one thing I did leave out in the medium prayer, and that is to say the offerings. Very important in the morning in Shacharit, you say the offerings. And that's on page 31. So you're going to do 31, 33, 35. And then you're going to skip from 35. You're going to skip to page 39 in the men's siddur. And you're going to say these verses. You say them 3 times each. The instructions are in here on 39. Adonai, Master Allegiance, is with us. A stronghold for us is the God of Yaakov. Selah. Adonai, Master Allegiance, praiseworthy is person who trusts in you. Adonai, say, may the King answer us on the day we call. And you are a shelter for me. From distress you preserve me. With glad song of rescue you envelop me, Selah. May the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleased to Adonai as in days of old and in former years. And then you're going to turn to page 41, and you're going to start with, we beg you with the strength of your right hand's greatness. You're going to say that paragraph, and then you're going to say the following paragraph, Master of Worlds. And that's going to end your offertory prayer. Now, when you say your Mincha prayer, you also say the offerings, except you don't do the taking of ashes, because that only happened in the morning time. Okay. So you're saying your offertory prayers twice a day, because we had, if you remember in the prayer for the Tamid offering, it says to do it twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. And so that's why we also, for Mincha, we say it all except for the taking of ashes. And Mincha starts in the men's siddur on page 233. It's a relatively short prayer. You pray the Psalm 145, and you will do the Amidah. Maariv prayer starts on page 257, and it's a little longer prayer than the Mincha prayer, but it's still much shorter, much shorter than the Maariv prayer. And that is on page 257 for the Maariv. And then when you go to bed at night, there's the bedtime Shema, which is on page 289. I normally, for that, I will say all of page 289, and I will say the top 2 paragraphs on page 291. I will say the top 1, 2, 3 paragraphs on 293, and the bottom one on page 295. You can adjust this. Except you have to say the Shema. You do. You can adjust this as you get to know which parts are very meaningful to you as you're preparing to go to sleep. Now, for other times on Shabbat, okay, we, as you know, on in our Shacharit service on Shabbat in the morning, we have a different section that our prayers come out of. We have a couple in the normal Shacharit, but most of it comes out. We start normally on page 401, and you're familiar with that already if you've been attending our services. So those are important. Now, when you go to on Erev Shabbat, after the meal, there is the Maariv prayer on Erev, and that is on page 331, is the Maariv prayer on Shabbat itself, which would be right after Erev, not after Havdalah. Okay, and then the Mincha prayer on Shabbat is on page, in the Men's Siddur, it's on page 503. And so they're a little different. They're more geared towards there's some prayers in here that's more geared to Shabbat itself. And so, and there's some less prayers that you pray on Shabbat. Fewer of the Amidah prayers are said on Shabbat. And so that I would, I'm trying to think what else did I have in here. There is on our YouTube channel, Rabbi has a list in the, you go to the playlist, and there is it's a mitzvah list. And he has quite a few good ones in there on prayer, especially it's just Shabbat prayers. He talks about praying to Shema and the importance of praying to Shema, and he goes into more detail about praying to Shema. All of these things are really good. I would suggest you go to It's a Mitzvah and listen to the videos that Rabbi has there about prayer. And I would suggest that's a really good suggestion for you. So this was just about logistics. It's not about getting into why we pray, more of that I'm going to leave up to you. Getting that book, How We Pray as a Jew, and reading through that. These next steps are more logistics. How do you get through your day as a Jew? And that's the purpose for these. So let's go to and see what is going on over here in the chat. Damien says shalom. Well, tell him I said shalom. Levi, thank you. Will one of the ladies be doing a walkthrough from the women's siddur? What do you guys think about Shoshana doing it next week and walking through the women's siddur? If you like that, let me know. Yes, you would like that, Hepzibah. Yes, yes. You get 2 votes. Heather, yes. Okay, I'll talk to Shoshana about doing that next week. That would be a good one. And I think that would give me a week off. Thank you for giving me a week off. So good. I will talk to her about doing that. Let's see what else is going on up here. There it looks like there were some buffering problems. Good to know, Eleazar. Yo, thanks for joining us. Man, I haven't talked to you in like forever. We'll have to touch bases here pretty soon. Minyan should be 10 Jewish males above bar mitzvah. Yes. So that is true. Now, when you're in the synagogue and if you have only 9, the Torah scroll counts as the 10th. Okay, just to let you know. So if we have 9 Jewish men in the service, the Torah scroll counts as the 10th. Yeah, some prayers you can't say without a minyan. And it'll tell you, actually, it will tell you in the siddur, once again, paying attention to the small print, either above or embedded into prayers, it will tell you what you can and cannot say without a minyan. So important. Thank you, Eliezer, for pointing that out. Amidah, standing prayer, also known as Shemona Esrei. Yes. I'm just going back up. I'll scroll back down here in a second. Yeah, let me scroll down. Okay. Yes, Makia, you can re-listen, Makia. It's going to be up there always. So, guys, let me know. Now, remember, this next steps is meant for those that are starting their journey and moving it. Some of you are past this, way past this, and I understand that, and that's good. I'm glad you're listening in and you're commenting and helping out here. What I would like for you to do is in the comments, if there's some other things you would like to see addressed in these next step videos that I could address, okay? But remember, these are geared towards those that are starting their journey. That's why it's called Next Steps. And so I would dearly love for you to put it into comments. So afterwards I can look and I'll look through and do things like that. You know, one of the things I also want to let you guys know, as you say the prayers, especially Shacharit prayers, it can be very long, and there's things that you can shorten it yourself. You know, there's the primary ones to pray. You can shorten yourself. If you shorten it, try on a rotating basis, going back and saying some of the prayers you missed. Okay. You got your siddur 2 days ago. Great. So you'll be ready for Shoshana next week. That'll be good. Okay. Great, Daniel. Great. That's good. Anyway, I hope you liked this particular one. It's not... it's more just to help you get started in your prayers on a daily basis, especially in the Shacharit. Many of us have the problem where you go to work. I remember before I retired, I was in the office at 5 o'clock every morning. Oftentimes, any day of the year, that's before daybreak. And I understand that many of you face these problems. And I'm trying to... I hope that you can take this, adjust it, and work it to your schedule, and that you too will grow as you pray. These prayers are very important. They're to be said with Kavanaugh, and I pray that you will do that. So, shalom. I'm going to let you guys go, and we will talk to you next week, same time. Same station, and remember, any of the things you would like to see on Next Steps, put into comments. So, love you guys. Shalom.